Would you sign with a record label? Welcome back. Hope you're well. Welcome back. Hope you're well. Yeah, that's how that would go. I want to talk today about how record labels work. And if you're a solo artist like I am, or you're a musician in a band and your band is getting frustrated, you really want to get signed, you want to get on a label, I want to talk to you about how record labels work and maybe give you a different perspective than what you're accustomed to. Now, what record labels do, don't get it confused, what record labels do is make money. Not for you. Granted, record labels do fund their artists sometimes, but the main priority for them is to make money because they are a business. They have to find a way to sustain themselves. So how does it all work whenever it comes to an artist and signing with a record label? Well, let me give you a little bit of a rundown with it. So if you're an artist and you are making a good living, a fairly comfortable living, then a record label will definitely want to come to you and say, hey, we'd like to sign you. What does that do though? Typically, in the past, record labels believed in the artist that they signed. They saw the importance of sowing or cultivating their artists to make them more popular so that the record label gained more profit. That's the way it should be looked at, but it's not the way it's looked at anymore. See, whenever they started out, a record label saw an artist, they say, hey, this has potential, we'd like to sign them, because as they gain popularity, like I said, more profit towards the record label. Over time, music and being an artist and being a musician got seen as a way of monetizing what you're doing. Before monetizing was a word in YouTube and ads and all that. So more bands were getting signed. Other record labels were seeing how much money record labels were making, like EMI and Virgin and Universal, and they were starting up, so they wanted to get in on the game. They were signing artists because they thought, man, quick money. People are really wanting to see artists. Money will just come flooding in, and it did. But then you traveled into the thing of artists creating shit content, people losing interest, and then a consumer base only has a certain flow of money. The more you wring your consumer base of money, the less money you're actually going to bring in the long run. So that's where the table started to turn. It used to be that record labels would sign smaller artists before they were significantly profitable or had a big following. So now, as time has went on, there have been more what they call indie record labels or independent record labels who don't sign album deals necessarily anymore. Now there are deals called 360 deals. These 360 deals are horrible because the record label has stopped gouging the consumer for money because the consumers are spending less money in the physical world. In reality, here in America, less people are going to shows. Less people are buying physical albums. Less people are buying band merchandise. More people are Eeyore is a donkey, isn't it? Are either ripping the media off the internet, or they're downloading it via iTunes or Google Play, or they're paying for services like Spotify or Pandora, where an artist gets royalties for the plays that they get. So how does a record label come into this? Well, record labels now will offer you a 360 deal. And they'll only do this if you are making a significant amount of money, because what they do is they say, okay, we're going to pay you a guaranteed, say, $10,000 a month. Granted, they're not going to pay you more than what you're already making. So why would anybody ever sign a deal? If you're making $15,000 a month and a label comes to you and they say, hey, we'll pay you a guaranteed $10,000 a month, it's $5,000 less per month. But what they offer is marketing. They offer the business aspect, the business platform. They can help push your brand. Well, that sounds great, sounds good, but what's happening is you're signing with a label, and then what we're seeing now is artists who sign or have signed within the last 10 years, or say 15 years with a label, they're signed to 3 or 5 album contracts, and then the label gives the artist an advance. An advance is a lump sum of money where the label will pay an artist $100,000. Okay, so you have $100,000, but you think, wow, I'm rich. No, because that's actually a loan. They're loaning you $100,000. And from that, they're going to take recording fees, marketing fees, distribution fees, agency fees, legal fees. And after it's all said and done, you'll end up actually owing the record label money. Yeah, that's what I think about owing record label money. So why is it beneficial? Like I said, you get marketing, you get placement, but look at the bands that were really hot in the 2010 era. So 7 years ago. A lot of them are significantly smaller in their fan base now. You haven't heard much from them. It's sad to say, but bands like Saving Abel, Adelita's Way, Theory of a Dead Man, and some other bands that I can't even think of right now. That's how bad it is. What they do is, the record label, they have you. You signed a contract with them. You can't get out of it unless you want to pay them millions of dollars to replace all the advanced money that they gave you. So they end up putting you in a closet. You're essentially their show dog in a way where if they want you, they have you, they can pull you off the shelf and say, hey, looky here. But what they're really doing is they're just keeping you contained. They're siphoning all the profit that'll come to the brand, and the artist is really getting screwed. There is a documentary about this exact process that 30 Seconds to Mars released. Jared Leto produced it, and it's called Artifact. I would highly recommend, even if you're not an artist or a musician and you have no interest in signing a record deal with a record label, watch Artifact. It's an incredible piece of film that shows the reality behind the modern record label. It tells a story about how record labels still collect damage fees on vinyl records. They don't do vinyl records anymore. Say you're an artist who doesn't even produce a vinyl record, they still collect fees on that. Some of them, not all of them. But ultimately, the record label is not there to benefit the artist anymore, they're there to benefit their own bank account. And that's where things have gone wrong for me. So it really is a scale of reading the details of the situation. Now, would I sign a record label? I can't say yes and I can't say no. What I can say is that I wouldn't immediately take pen to paper for one. I would have to sit down and really discuss exactly what the transaction is going to be. And I would suggest, if you're an artist or you're a musician, do the same. It may sound exciting if a record label sends you an email and they say, hey, we want to sign you, or hey, we'd like to take you on and bring you as a member of the team. But don't think about that moment where you're signing the contract and being a signed artist. Think about the moment 5, 8, 10 years from that point. Where will you be? How much money will you be making and how much money will you owe? Because the artists that are successful are the ones who have leveraged the debt versus the credit. If you have a strong brand and you are making good money from it, it would be more beneficial to you to forego the record label and instead put your money towards a marketing expert or a business development expert. Get somebody who cares about the brand that you are creating for the brand that you are creating, so that it's mutually beneficial for both. And if that brand fails, both fail. And you're not stuck in a trench while the other person can just hold you there and go about their own way. So there's a little insight as to how record labels work. They are beneficial, they're not all bad, but they're mostly horrible. If you want to see more about the life of a musician and learn more things like this behind the scenes that people don't necessarily think about, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at Stenosis Music. The links are in the description below, and we'll see you next time.